Hi, and welcome to day one of the 5 day journal challenge, how to make space for God through journaling. You are starting the new year off right, making your first week about hearing from God, getting into the practice of quieting yourself enough to make space for Him and seeking Him before you dive into the new year. My hope is that by the end of this week, you will have a full understanding of how to quiet yourself, how to hear God's voice and know it is Him, and how to use journaling as a powerful tool to train yourself to discern God's voice. We were created to be in relationship with Him. It was the primary purpose of our creation. Our perfect God was alone and desired to be in relationship with us. But unfortunately, life is always lifing, right? There's always things to do. And the primary thing that we were put here to do becomes the last thing that we end up doing, even if it's not what you want to do at all. And it's not because we don't love God or even because we think it's not important. We know and understand how important it is, and we desire to spend more time with us. But oftentimes, we don't make space for it. And a lot of times, it's because we don't know how to hear His voice. And as Miles Monroe used to always say, if you don't understand the purpose of a thing, you will abuse it or neglect it. If we don't understand the purpose of God's voice in our life, we will neglect it or we will take advantage of it. So to get started for this journaling, I am going to explain a few things about quieting yourself to hear and how your journal is going to facilitate that. So many of you are like how I was. You used to journal your thoughts and your emotions on paper. Now, that's one good form of journaling. Getting your thoughts and decluttering your mind, it helps you think through your thoughts, your feelings, your rationale, and oftentimes you feel better when you're done, right? That's because everything's cluttered up in here, and now you've just done like a dump on the paper. But there is such a better, more powerful, transformative way to journal, a way that allows God's thoughts, His dreams, and His whispers to come alive to you on the page. And that's the type of journaling that we will be doing throughout this week. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice, I know them, and they follow me." We are all called to be His sheep. And I'm not sure if some of you understand the power of that verse. There's also another verse in scripture that says, "I am the good shepherd." God and Jesus tell us that they are the good shepherd. So a lot of people don't understand what shepherds were like back in the Bible times, and even still to this day, except there's technology involved. But a lot of shepherds and the shepherds back in the Bible, they didn't just stand around to keep the sheep safe, right? They didn't just sit with them outside and stare at the stars and write psalms like David did. It was way more than that. Shepherds had to prepare the areas for the sheep to feed on. So they would search around for a plot of land. Okay. They would find it had to be nutrient rich. If it wasn't, they had to make it nutrient rich. It had to be good soil. And then they would take care of this empty field by actually growing grass. I don't know if any of you have ever grown grass. We have grown grass, and it was a lot of work. It didn't take me half a year, but that's because I was just doing a small little backyard area. They would do miles and miles and miles, grow grass, make it nutrient dense, make it rich, make it fertile, so they could get this good grass, right? Because this was the diet that the animals were feeding on. So these shepherds did a ton of manual labor just to make sure that their sheep had good food to sustain them. They also had the job to inspect them carefully, right? Like we always see flies flying all around them. Well, they don't have hands to swat them away. So oftentimes flies would just land on the sheep and make little eggs and nests and infections, and it would start to destroy their skin. And it was actually very painful, right? Like imagine having a cut in a wound that's getting infected, but you can't even touch it or itch it. And they're super hairy animals, so they have to like comb through their skin. They have to like part their skin, part not their skin, part their hair to inspect and to get these flies out. And if they see a rash, they would soothe it with ointment. Okay, so these sheep that would get infected with these flies would need to be soothed. They would need a balm on their skin. So the shepherds not only would do this, they would not only get rid of the bugs and the flies, they would put the balm on their skin. And then to make sure they healed correctly, they would keep them next to them. They didn't just put them out in the fold with everyone else, they would keep them next to them. The most important thing, in my opinion, that they did was that they would have to look out for cast sheep. A cast sheep is a sheep that has rolled over on its back and it can't get up. And they're usually the most healthy and the most robust sheep. But their center of gravity gets off when they try to lay down or rest. So they wouldn't fall when they were standing and being busy. They would actually fall when they were trying to lay down and rest. So as soon as they would sit down, they would try to, stretch to get comfortable. Their center of gravity would go off and they would fall over. This is what we would call a cast sheep. The danger of this and the problem with cast sheep is as they're in this position, they get frantic because they're trying to get themselves up, right? So they get anxious and they get nervous and they put themselves into a tizzy. They also start getting these gases that build up in a part of their body, and then their body can't expel the gas. So they get this gas build up, and then it cuts the circulation off to their feet, and then it could kill them. If it's hot outside, they could die within an hour or two. If it was cold, they could last a whole day upside down like this. On top of that, this is what coyotes and vultures would look for. They would look for these cast sheep because they knew, oh, now I got them, I can attack them. So the shepherd's job, like in the Bible, it says he would leave the 99 to go rescue the one. They needed to go rescue that sheep. That's why they were always counting sheep because they knew that if I have a sheep missing, it's probably not because a wolf took it, because I would see that. It's because there was a cast sheep that was upside down and stuck somewhere. So they would have to constantly be on high alert to make sure these sheep weren't cast. So does this sound like a job that only required a shepherd to just sit outside with the sheep? Yeah, definitely not. I don't think people understand the depth of what shepherding requires and how much love and care that you have to have for a sheep. So, why am I going through all this? Well, not only does Jesus compare us to sheep, he calls himself the good shepherd, right? Not a shepherd, but a good shepherd. He does all these things for us. He goes out before us and prepares a way for us to eat and feed and rest. He brings us to still waters. And if there's not still waters there, they would dig out a trench so that we can access still waters. They catch us when we've fallen and when we're prey to the enemy and his attacks and when we're prey to attacks from other people. And he keeps us by his side to nourish us back to health. It is so important for you to understand how much God loves you, how much he cares for you, and how much he goes out of his way tirelessly to provide for us, to protect us. Why? Just because he loves us. It is important that you understand this before you start this week of journaling so that you can go boldly into his presence in these next few days, so that when he is speaking to you truth for your situation, you can receive it and you don't um, just reject it because you think he can't be saying this about me. You don't need to shrink back because you think that you have sinned and that you did something that he isn't happy about. Or maybe you're in a situation where you know you're maybe not living right and you feel guilty about it, or other people are making you feel guilty about it. And you think, well, when I get my act together or when I start living right, then I'll have time, then I can make room for God. No, not so. This is not how God intended us to live. As a matter of fact, he gave us the story of Adam in the garden. I'm going to go over that more in depth tomorrow. That will be my teaching for tomorrow. But he sought out Adam right after he sinned. He sought him out because he wanted him to know we still have a connection. There should still be communion and communication between us. Romans 8:1 says, there is therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. So God's voice does not shame, it does not condemn, it does not humiliate us, it does not rush us, it doesn't threaten us. So if you're hearing any of those things, they are not God's voice. Okay? So now we're going to go to the part of your journaling. I'm going to go over this with you. And if you have your journal in hand and you're ready to get started, you can go right along with me in this process. I have included the entry in the Facebook chat and via email for questions to prompt you with. So we're going to start off with just hearing God's voice and journaling that way. We're also going to have questions that we can prompt with, and then we also have a visualization. So let's start with the visualization. So if you are ready to go, get your journal, get your pen. And I just want you to know that when I first started journaling this way, it felt beyond weird. Like so weird that I literally wrote that out. This feels weird. Because I was used to just, I'll give you an example. It's so embarrassing. Oh my gosh, Lord, I like this guy so much, but he won't even look at me. Why me? Why me? This, that, and the other. Like it was just like my teenage diary, but for a 30-year-old. That's how I used to journal. God, are you listening? God, why aren't you hearing me? I'm so confused. God, I love you. I would always end it like David did in the Psalm. Like, but God, I love you. I know you're great. It was all my thoughts. We are going to take God's thoughts and write them out. So when I first started, I just started writing. And I wrote, literally wrote, "This feels weird. This probably isn't going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway." That's what I wrote. And then, boom, God started speaking. "I love you with an unfailing love. You are my precious daughter. I have been waiting for this moment." Now, mind you, all those thoughts are coming into my head and I'm writing, and my pen is not keeping up with my thoughts. That's how I know it was God. Don't try to connect what you hear. Don't try to make sense of it. Just literally write it. Don't even worry about if it's spelling errors. You will understand and you will get the gist. Just write. Okay. So, what I want you to do to start is I want you to close your eyes. And if you're not ready to journal, you can listen to this all the way through and then replay this part again. Or if you remember it, you can just do this separately. But if you're ready to journal, let's go. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to envision yourself in a place that brings you so much joy. Like, it's your happy place. It can be a beach. For me, it was always a field with a waterfall, field of flowers, beautiful flowers and a waterfall. It could be a shopping mall, right? Like, you may love the shop. It could be Italy. It could be your favorite place in Italy. God will meet you wherever that place is that brings you joy. Okay, so while your eyes are closed, I want you to look around and take in the scene around you. Take in how you feel. How do you feel right now in this happy place? Do you feel peace? Do you feel calm? Do you feel serene? What sounds are you hearing? If you're at the waterfall, are you hearing the water cascade onto the rocks? If you're at the beach, do you hear the waves crashing? Do you hear the birds in the background? What do you smell? Are there any smells there? Maybe you are actually in a shopping mall and you smell the food court. You hear the buzzing of people and you see all the beautiful clothes that you love. If you're at the beach, you hear the crashing sound of the waves. You see the bright, vibrant colors of the water. Maybe the water's turquoise blue. You can feel the sun beating on your body as it relaxes you. Now I want you to ask God, "God, I am asking you to join me here in this place. I desire to hear your voice and what you have been trying to tell me. Here I am, Lord, speak." Now grab your pen and start writing whatever thoughts come to your mind. And it's important that you understand you're not listening for an audible voice. You're not going to hear a voice. There's going to be thoughts deposited into your mind. You're going to write that. And if you start hearing the thoughts in your writing, stop this video now and just keep writing. And some of you may not hear anything yet, and that's okay. Keep watching. So I want you to stay in that place that you've envisioned for yourself. So go back to where you were before I started speaking. The sounds, you hear the sounds, you can smell the familiar smells. And with your pen in your hand, I want you to say this. I want you to ask God, "God, what are you trying to say to me right now in this moment? What is it that you want me to know?" How do you want me to see myself? What is it that you see? And what is a lie that I have been believing about myself? And what is the truth that you want me to know about that? And if those prompts work, you can pause this video and continue journaling. Now, there may still be a few of you that aren't hearing anything, and that's okay. I want you to go back to that place because you may have been too anxious in your thoughts trying to make sure you did the visualization correct, and you were so focused on what you were doing that you actually were not able to calm yourself. So we're going to intentionally go back to that place. You're going to envision yourself there. And how does it make you feel right now? How are you feeling? What are you seeing? What colors are you seeing? What are you hearing? And now you may start to feel warmth, like a big warm hug, or like someone's coming from behind you giving you a big warm hug. You just know you feel warmth and you feel peace. That is God's presence. And when you feel his presence, ask him, "What is it that you want me to know?" And now you were not going to write this part down. You were just going to listen. And as he tells you what he wants you to know, when you were done hearing from him, Then you will write everything down afterwards. I'm excited to hear the testimonies, the stories of what you have heard. Write them in the community if you're willing to share. You can also make a video. I would love to see a quick video of what you have experienced. And we will see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye for now.